Welcome to another episode of Asia Rebel Club. Anshu Singh spent over 25 years building software and mobile applications for Silicon Valley companies and her own startup. By all measures, she was living the dream, the perfect house, the career, and stability, until the pressure became too much. Burnout and disconnected, she packed up her life, moved to Bali for 1 year, and never went back. That one decision completely changed her trajectory. Today, she's the founder of Solana Wellness Retreats, an international yoga teacher, author of Pressure to Pleasure, and a teacher of teachers, guiding thousands through healing, breathwork, and emotional release. Let's hear her story.
Hi, guys. My name is Anshu. I was born and brought up in India. And in my early 20s, I actually came to Switzerland for the first time for job. But this is
I didn't
where
know that.
right now I'm in Basel, and this is where
Yeah.
this was my first country or first city outside India that I came to. And I actually lived here for 6 months. So yeah, 30
That's
years later,
crazy.
I'm back here. So cool, right?
It is very, very cool.
And I was totally into technology. I moved to America. I was in
Yeah.
California in Silicon Valley for 16 years, and I was very much focused on my career as a technologist. I wanted to move up the ladder, and I was consistently sort of making progress in my career. Till the kids came into my life.
Mm.
And when the kids were born, I felt like there was just so much pressure. And maybe this pressure, of course, it's something that comes from the society, from upbringing,
Yeah,
from myself. And I feel like maybe women all around the world have it, with just the pressure, but I still wanted to be a career woman. And at the
for
same
sure.
time, I wanted to be with my babies and I wanted to still have a beautiful home. Like it's just a lot. And I had like a long commute, just a very high pressure job. And I feel like I was burning out.
Hmm.
I was burnt out actually. I would get sick every couple of months and like my body was kind of giving up. I had pains in my body. So when my babies were little, I moved to Bali for a year just so
Yeah,
I could spend time with them while they were still young. And I have been there since then. Being in Bali changed the trajectory of my life, let's say. It just, put it
definitely.
in a completely different direction because I don't know, like there's something in Bali. I was supposed to be there for 1 year and a lot started to change, shift in my life. Maybe I had to learn to be myself and I had to learn to love myself just the way I am instead of trying to be this perfect person. So yeah, I mean, and I'm still in Bali right now. And
Yeah,
right now in my life, my focus is to help people like myself, maybe like people who are professionals burned out and yeah, they want to have a change. So I have a wellness retreat center which is focused on health and wellness, and because it's so needed in the world right now, especially the amount of stress we all live in. So
definitely.
my focus.
Fascinating journey. I think that you graduated when you were 20 years old in India. Is that correct?
Even younger than that.
It's younger than that.
I went to college when I was 15. Oh
Yeah,
my God. And this college was like, I was going to all girls school in India, in Lucknow, in my hometown. And, I got admission in this college. I had, finished my grade 12 and I had just turned 15. And
that's crazy.
my dad, I got admission and, my family sent me there and it was like 24 hours away
Yeah,
from my hometown. And back in the day, it wasn't like we were not connected through devices. The
yeah.
transportation wasn't as good. Yeah, and anyway, and then I graduated when I was 18.
That's
Finished my undergrad.
crazy. Okay, so maybe tell us a bit about your upbringing. Like it seems like to me there's like a lot of academic pressure. I'm not sure if it's from you or from your parents. Like why also did you go to college and graduated so young?
Mm. Yeah, yes, there was a lot of pressure to do well in school, in studies. And I don't know. I still wonder why my dad was, why my family or my dad wanted me to go to college so early. So I was a bright child when I was
Mm-hmm.
young. Back in the day, there was no age limit. So, like my teachers, when I was young, I did kind of, like the younger 2 years, I already
Yeah.
skipped 1 year. And then in grade 1 and 2, I already skipped to grade
Mm,
2 because I was doing well.
mm.
So I think my dad was proud of me. So he just wanted to see me like do well. And maybe for him, this was an indicator of success to go to
Yeah.
college so early. Even though as a
It's
teenager,
definitely, I mean, it definitely was, right? Like for a lot of households, like that just means you're, genius.
I know. I feel like as a teenager, I mean, at 15, I look at my daughter who's 15. I would
Yeah.
never send her this far away.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was not emotionally mature at all in
I mean, you
order.
can be in that age.
I was basically really, I don't know how to even say this. It was really, really stressful. So I
Yeah.
feel like I have been under stress since I was a kid. It's a mode of survival. I
It
wasn't
is.
thriving. One
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
you're thriving, you're doing well, and you're just feeling good. But I feel like I have survived all my life. Till I
Yeah.
became a little bit more conscious to sort of say, like, what's the point of all of this?
It's really interesting you mention it because I think there is almost like a dichotomy of like how you see yourself internally and how other people see you. Because when they see you from outside, they're like, oh, and she's doing so well. She's like, a talented, gifted kid. Like other people probably envy you, and you graduated when they're going to college, so they're like, you saved like 4 years of your life. And it's the same thing. So like, how this guy who had perception actually of OpenAI got hired by Meta for $100 million. So that guy went to the early talent program in China. With this early talent program, which they only hire genius kids from age 12 to 13. And they
Wow.
were there, and like basically they're teenager when they're admitted into this university, and they graduated when they're still a teenager, right? So what happens is that so a lot of these kids have mental problems actually. So it's good that this guy like made it. So I mean, obviously they are really smart, right? That's why they got into these programs so early. But it's so selective. Some of them are extremely talented, and then they become like this guy, right? But majority of them suffer so much because they never had a childhood.
Exactly. And what's the point of life? Like, one is, you're naturally gifted and you follow your talents and you do really, you do what you're meant to do. But then
Yeah,
this kind of thing, when you put pressure on young kids, and now there is a lot of competition, a lot of pressure to perform. And those are
yeah,
the things that really result in, I feel like anxiety, and people have
yeah.
panic attacks, and people get into depression. I mean, I know people personally who had this much anxiety at a younger age to perform
Mm,
that they start to have panic attacks. I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, it's just really, really crazy.
Few things I'm curious about, but I will start with when you said when you moved to Bali, you said that you needed to find who you are, right? And you need to be okay with who you are. Like, what does that even mean? Like, were you not okay with who you were? Like, did you not know like what was going on at the time?
It's so funny. I have to tell you a little story. So my daughter, she was about 3 years old, and she was swinging, and I was just like randomly asking her, "So Anya, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And then her answer came, "I want to be myself." I was like, "What does that even mean
Yeah,
to
what does
be
that mean?
yourself?"
Aren't you yourself already?
Because I would say that I was enjoying what I was doing, but a
Yeah,
lot of like time in my life, how can I say this? I was living my life for other people,
yeah,
So I was, okay, because when you grow up, when you grow up under so much pressure, you don't have any time to figure out who you are. Like,
yeah.
that's what people are doing in their teen years. But I hadn't, as I said, I was under a lot of pressure. So I
Hmm.
hadn't really figured out who I am or what do I want in my life. And that's what I mean, that I had to, I mean, I would say I'm still on that journey to figure out what do
Yeah,
I like.
yeah.
like what makes me feel, happy and excited? What gives me
Yeah.
energy? What makes me
Yeah.
feel like I'm thriving in my life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and then, but then what happens is in this world that is trying to be perfect, we want to be somebody else. So for
Yeah.
example, my nature is slow. Like I by nature, I'm not a very fast person. But the
Mhm.
world is very fast. People are moving fast and they're, growing fast. And
It's
so if you
getting
look
faster
at
and
the
faster.
world, yeah. And when you start to compare yourself to other people, and then you want to be like somebody else because you're compared, or so that is why we have to really learn to be, learn to love and accept ourselves.
Yeah. Do you think that is hard? Like, of everything that
it's
you've done, do you think that is hard?
it's it takes a level of learning, like, how can I say this? Maybe in my generation it was harder. I feel like kids nowadays really know this already.
Yeah,
um
innately.
Yeah, it was definitely hard for me. Um, and it can be hard for people. It depends on so many factors. But I know I meet so many people in different age ranges, and so many people are struggling with
Mm.
accepting who they are
Yeah.
because they feel like I met this young woman a few days ago, and she was like, I want to be perfect like my mom and my grandma because they're so perfect.
But they're not.
They wouldn't feel this way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of us, I definitely see there's a lot of generational differences. Like when I'm talking to my dad, like he doesn't even know, like for him, it's not even in his awareness, right? But then if you were to talk to Gen Z, like they already have it figured out and they don't have the baggage. And I think that it's just one of those things where like the more junk you have in your subconscious, the harder it is to get over. And it's like the hardest part is really even the concept. It's just the emotions associated with all the conditioning that we had gone through and the utility of those conditionings that we perceive that they have. You talk about your dad quite a bit. Could you maybe tell us about your relationship with him and also like how has it changed as you embark on different kind of journeys, like externally, internally, when you moved to US, like you had a career there, and then when you moved to Bali and until now?
Yeah. So my dad passed away. He passed away more than 10 years ago.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I feel like, I was really living my life in the younger years to make him happy.
yeah.
To when that he would be happy that I did well in exams, or he would be happy when I got a promotion or I got a job, or I was really striving to make him happy. Um, and he was really happy with my career. He was so happy
Definitely.
that I was in US and I was, moving up the corporate ladder. I had my own house. Like I was doing pretty well. But when I moved to Bali, it was very, very hard for him to accept
Mhm,
this. So he was like, yeah, I'm happy. He was like, you're throwing away the career that you have worked so hard to make. So yeah, I really felt like, what am I doing?
mhm,
Why am I doing this? And I really was like, maybe I should just go back and, go back into that old life. But I just couldn't. And
mhm.
at one point in time before he passed, I had a authentic conversation with him. And I said, please, I really want to do this. I feel like this is my path and I need to explore it. And
Yeah.
it was almost like he resigned and he said, okay, do what you want to do, kind of a thing.
Mm, mm.
And I look at it as a blessing that he accepted it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell him how you felt? For example, you were not happy with certain lifestyle, that you're happier, that kind of more emotional conversation?
It was, yeah, not a lot. It
Yeah,
was always very practical with him.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then he was in the hospital in his last 10 days or so. He was in the hospital. And then we had some good conversations,
Mm,
but still
mm.
not a very deep, deep emotional conversation, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's I think sometimes it's hard to talk to our parents just if we don't have that vulnerable relationship. And I think that in Asian culture we never do. I
Yeah,
mean, like I won't say
exactly.
never, but a lot of times we don't, especially in the, like our generations and above. And I think that they wanted to have certain, almost like a hierarchy in the household, and they want to have that
Exactly.
power and influence. So like it's really like to them, they can't be vulnerable because then they will be perceived as a human, right? So just like as the girl that you're talking about, I mean, like maybe the mom and grandma, they're not perfect. They just want to project perfection, right? And so like that's for me and my dad. Like I try to be as vulnerable myself to him, so I want
Mhm.
him to feel the permission to be vulnerable with me just because I'm doing that to him. And I just think that I don't want it to leave a lot of things unsaid, right? And I think that is
Yeah,
very important for us to have that kind of deeper connection, not just superficial ones.
amazing. It's amazing that you're doing this.
Yeah, like it's, but we'll see. I think we're just starting. We'll see what kind of shit that we dig out too, in this process. But,
Well
you
done.
yeah, thank you. So you said that you left a stable job in Silicon Valley. I know that you at the time probably have been working there for what, 16 years, you said? And
No, before that, like I think I had a career, yeah, already maybe more than 20 years
mm,
because I was
mm,
still working in India and then in
yeah,
US, so
yeah,
more
yeah,
than 20 years.
yeah.
Like different
So
job, but yeah, very stable,
you also started very young, right? So that,
very
yeah. For I was definitely not working when I was 18. Let me put it that way. But anyways, what was like, the last straw for you to walk away for good and move to Bali?
moving to Bali was actually not walking away for good. It was just meant to
Mm,
be for 1 year. So I
yeah.
would say it was never. So at that time, the last straw to move to Bali was mostly about being with the kids, being with my baby. Because in San Francisco, I couldn't. I had to leave them and go to work, and so I hardly spent any time with them. And I think that's the time I started to question the way we are living because I'm like, I have these babies and now I'm supposed to leave them with a nanny or leave them into a daycare and they
So
cry.
unnatural.
And I go to work and I commute for hour and a half. I have this high pressure job and then another hour and a half. So when am I spending time? Like it's like already like more than 12 hours are gone and sometimes even more
Yeah.
and they're sleeping the rest of the time. Yeah, it was just too much, but it wasn't it was meant to be forever, to be honest,
Mm,
to be in
mm,
Bali. But in Bali, things started to change. I became a yoga teacher, and I think doing during this teacher training, it really brought me to start to question my path. So that was the
yeah.
first time. And then my relationship was breaking down a little, it wasn't doing so well. So I had to really, and I was, very unhappy in my life. So that also,
Mm,
as I began questioning and, I went into it like a deep spiritual journey to
yeah.
understand the meaning of life. Like,
Yeah.
why am I suffering? Why am I so
Yeah.
sad? And,
Right.
why am I leaving my stable life and doing this? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Right.
It was a slow unraveling. It wasn't like
Right.
from one day to another because I still had so much fear of life. Am I
Yeah.
doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? So it has been a journey to come into trust.
You're right, for sure. And it seems like I think I caught something there where you said that like you're like, oh, why did I leave a stable job behind? But in reality, you said that you actually were only there for a year. But I think that maybe the reason why you were even having that question was perhaps you didn't really want to go back, or like you saw different possibilities, and you're like, what should I choose? Should I go back? Should I not go back? What is the new life
Exactly.
for me? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I saw possibilities, but it was almost like I just didn't know. Like there are some times in life, maybe it doesn't happen to everybody, but it was like a crisis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, crisis is when you're trying to really figure out, when you're questioning everything about your life,
Yeah.
and you're trying to make sense of it, and you just, it's like one step at a time, just kind of, figuring out what's next. So it
Yeah.
was like that. I would
And
say
it's
it was
for
like that for many years. It was like that. Like I had to continue to do some work on myself. So I was
Yeah.
doing a lot of self-development work, a
Yeah.
lot of different things.
How do you reconcile? So, the challenge I have had in my path, because I had I think 2 ego deaths in the span of 3 years, 2, 3 years. So there's a lot, like a lot of, and there's a lot of mini ones, right, in the process. And I think one challenge I had was that I just felt like I was lagging behind. Like I was like, God, like other people are moving on. Like I was always the one that is, like I was so driven. I will crush every single goal I had and I would just be like focused and I would just run super fast. And when you have those ego deaths, you feel like you've lost motivation. And even those goals have lost their meanings. And you really wanted to drive yourself out of this because, you are used to achievements, but in the meantime, you don't feel like it. And you just feel like, God, like, what is it me? Because like everybody else is moving on, and you
I
just feel like you're
know.
stuck in this like internal dialogue with yourself. And maybe you feel like you're making progresses, but other people don't see it. And then you're just like, what is going on? Like, am I lagging behind in my life? I don't know whether you've had those doubts.
Yeah. I mean, we are brought up with so much comparison. And when we are comparing ourselves, like I have done this, like especially in the corporate life, I was continuously feeling not good enough because I'm
Hmm.
like, I am doing so much. And yes, maybe some people are getting ahead and, but I'm not getting ahead fast enough or because there's so much
There's always
competition.
more. Yeah.
There's so much competition, and then we have this, in the adult life we start to compare ourselves. So our parents are maybe not comparing anymore, but we are comparing ourselves with other people.
You
And then
internalize the voice.
but why? Like life is so short. We have to be living our path, and our
Yeah.
path is uniquely ours. It
Yeah.
doesn't belong to anybody else. We are uniquely who we are. And
Yeah.
we all have different talents. Maybe we have
Yeah.
different things that excite us. But in
Right.
corporate life, you're not really following what excites you. You're just following, I need to become this or
Make
because
more
this.
money. Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know whether it's the same in India, but in China we had very rigorous exam system, and every single step of the way, from the age of 7, I would say 6, 7 years, you need to go through exams after exams after exams, and they rank
Exactly.
you. And they
I
let you
know.
know your place, right? And compared to others all the time. So if you imagine like 10, 15 years of that brainwashing, I mean, it's really hard to just be like, I'm not going to compare.
Right? And I mean, see, in the Western world, they are not doing like that. Like
Yeah.
there's no ranking. I mean, maybe later in life there is ranking, but in the beginning, kids are just
There's no,
having fun
yeah.
and they're just learning what they are excited about.
Yeah.
And nowadays there are more and more these alternative schools where kids are following their path of excitement
Yeah.
instead of like I need to, be 100% in maths or I need to be number one in the class. Like, to me, it's just
It's so
ridiculous, to be
stupid.
honest.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
never even thought, it's like, oh, do I really like physics? Do I really like, is that for me?
exactly. Exactly. Nobody really knows. I had no idea what I wanted to study. What do I like? No, I was in surviving mode. And I feel like many, many kids in such a system are basically just trying to survive. you know
100%.
because yeah, they're being compared the whole time by
Yeah.
teachers, by parents, by the society, everybody
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah, yeah. And I felt like corporate is almost just like a grown-up version of that because you still need it to be compared, to get that promotion. If you get it, you have like this huge target on your back and you're like, oh, well, people catch up, would that be irrelevant? Like there's so much insecurity that get like, they don't even need to instill that in you if you have grown up from that system.
Exactly. Corporate, they're not even caring so much for the employees. They would do layoffs and they will, the employees would be made redundant. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that care is not even there from
No.
of the employees. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So how did your idea of success change after leaving corporate life?
Mm.
And what's your relationship with ambition and money now?
It's a very good question. So I feel like it took me many years to get to this space, this place where I'm at, that I want to feel fulfilled. So it doesn't mean that I don't want money. I still want to be financially in a good place, but I don't need to be like, I want to feel good with what I do. So if
Yeah.
it means that not having a lot of money, it's okay. Like my kids are like, Mama, if you stayed in San Francisco, we would be so rich. And I'm like,
That's
but
what they
I'm
said to you.
really are like real, because of course they're kids and they're understanding, learning about money. And I said, but I'm happy with what I do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, and again, we all need money, but there has been studies done that after a certain point of time, money is not going to make you happy. So once you have a
No.
certain amount of money that's giving you, let's say, good house to live in, maybe
Yeah.
a car or, like some comforts of life.
Yeah.
Once person achieves that, after that, you can have more and more and more money. It's actually not going to make you happy. It may even make you more depressed because
Yeah.
now you're comparing yourself with your neighbor who bought a new Tesla or who
Yeah.
bought a ski cabin somewhere in the mountains or who, I don't know, they just have a
That's
lot
a
more
rat
money.
race. Yeah.
Silicon Valley is totally like that, like people are always wanting more and more and more. But is
Yeah.
it making them happier? No, it's creating
Yeah.
more stress. So
Yeah.
I think this is what has changed for me. The definition of success is, how is my well being, my quality of life? Do I feel fulfilled?
Mhm.
You know, Still sometimes in the back of my mind, the comparison chatter still comes up because I look at my
It's so hard to
classmates,
deprogram.
people that I'm college with,
I do that all the
but I
time
have
too.
to let it go. I'm like, it's okay. This is my path. This is what I'm meant to do. So I have to keep reminding myself.
Yeah.
It's like, years and years of conditioning. So now
Yeah.
it's like, it's the conditioning, it's the backwards conditioning that I'm going through.
Deconditioning. Yeah, yeah. So
Exactly.
I wanted to add on there where I think that a lot of people don't even know what happiness is. Like a lot of times when we are in that matrix, you think that you're chasing happiness by like getting, as you said, like a house, a car, a promotion, this and that, a prettier kid, a pretty girl, or like, I don't know, like richer husband, whatever that is. It's like a dopamine hit, right? It's not really happiness. It's just like the thrill that you're chasing and you get it, you're on to the next thing. If you do
Exactly.
well, you get it constantly and then you mistake that for kind of like, like the semblance of happiness. But then like when you realize that like you yourself can generate happiness. You don't need like other things to like prop you up. Then that becomes a lot more sustainable. But it's also because like it's more authentic because you define the definition of that instead of like you're reaching onto the societal definition of happiness.
Exactly. Absolutely. Because happiness, it's all, I read this quotation somewhere. The mind can make heaven on earth or hell on earth. So they
Yes.
could be a farmer working in the fields, feeling happy to see the fields blossoming and that, that it's going to produce this
Mm.
much or it's going to, and then there could be a CEO who's earning like multi-million-dollar salary
Some be
and
miserable.
still be completely miserable and has to go for a drink every night
Yeah.
after work because it's so stressful.
Yeah.
Who's happier? The
Yeah.
Western world will say, of course we are happier, but no, the farmer is happier. Or
Yeah.
like a kid, sitting somewhere fishing and
Yeah.
they're just being happy with their life because they have
Yeah, for
food.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are
So,
some extreme comparisons, right?
yeah.
So just yesterday I met somebody, some a Swiss person, and that, that guy was saying that people in Switzerland do not appreciate what they have. And again, I'm not saying it's everybody like that, but it's like when we have this beautiful country where everything works so nicely and everything is so perfect, and you still are not happy. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
so happy here because it's so beautiful. I love it so much. But
Yeah.
people take
Yeah.
it for granted.
It is. And they're living their mind. So, like, because I'm in Singapore and Singapore is the most developed nation in Southeast Asia, as you know, and everywhere you go in Southeast Asia is not as developed, right? And then there's one time I went to Laos one of the poorest countries in the world and also in the region. And I just remember like people there, they're still one of the remaining communist country, right? So the setup, the country, like the people, the mindset is pretty much China in the early teens, like 30 years ago. And people, like I could tell because that's in my memory. And I was like, oh my God. But the people there are so happy, like in a very innocent way, right? Like they're very happy with what they have. And, sometimes like I still remember that to be like the Chinese culture 30 years ago. Now it's
Yeah.
completely different. And then you go to Singapore, you're just like, people have everything. And it's just like an hour away. And I would say mind blowing how like people can live like this much like next to each other and have completely different ways to look at the world and relating that to themselves. And it's just like, it really makes you question then like, that what are the stuff for, right? Like all the stuff that we're
Exactly.
seeking. Yeah.
Exactly. And what is development anyway? Like, what does it mean to like, so, okay, now we have cars and we have these apartments and all these iPhones and like new and technology and gadgets,
Yeah.
right? But then we're losing connection with the earth. Like, I feel
Yeah.
the happiest when I'm connecting to nature. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. And when I'm eating
Yeah.
good food, and
Yeah.
when my body is feeling energized. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, the money in the bank at this time.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, for
matters
sure.
is your health and, and your inner peace, inner
Yeah.
well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that like when you're going through, the deep programming kind of deconditioning stage, oftentimes we like just, speaking from experience here, and I don't know whether I'm pretty sure you can relate to this too, is that like sometimes when you let something go, like you're like, okay, I'm not going to chase, I don't know, like I'm not going to chase the next, like whatever, like amount of money, or I'm not going to chase the next title. I'm not going to chase the status. Like I'm not going to chase all these things. Let one of the, like each one of them go, like you have a mini panic, right? Like inside, because you're like, oh, like, does that mean like, because am I going to be okay without that? Or like, what does that say about me? What kind of person am I now becoming? Am I lazy now? Like, am I dumb now? Like, what is that? So like, I don't know, have you gone through something like that? And also, how did you change the way you talk to yourself?
All the time, Crystal, all the time. I feel like at every step of the way, I have felt, what am I doing? And, like these mini crises, right?
Yeah.
Or not feeling good enough, or like letting go of a relationship, letting go of a career, letting go
Yeah.
of, I have let go of a lot, and I think for me, and even now, like a lot comes up around this.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken some risks in my life. I have started some businesses that haven't done so well, and I have lost a lot of money.
You have
And
you take a lot of risks. I can tell you've taken a ton of risks.
yeah, yes, I live out of comfort zone. Let's just say that,
Yeah.
nowadays. So it's pretty scary sometimes. And every night I come into a state of gratitude. I look at everything that is going good because
Yeah.
it's so easy to look at glass half empty, like what's missing in my life,
Yeah.
versus looking at what's the fullness and the richness of my life. And I
Yeah.
feel like if everybody started to do this practice just to look at everything magical that's happening or everything good that's happening in your life, we would come into more state of trust that we are on the right path. The reason
Yeah.
we doubt is because we're just doubting because we are listening to other people's voices.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's easier to hold on to something that you know versus something like let go of that and trust that something that you don't know yet will be better, right? And I think that especially something to do with like personal, like any kind of emotional relational problems that it's almost like you know your situation very well and you know the good and bad and uglies and you're like, oh, I can just tough it out. And then you zoom out, you're like, well, but I still have a life to live, right? So like how many more years do I want to endure? Like there's so much like art than science in the process. And the amount of faith you're gonna have is just like unbelievable. And I think a lot of times people like don't do gratitudes, right? People who are just like, oh, I need to have it all. Like these people actually take the least amount of risk, like Like they haven't gone through any kind of hardship to realize the power of gratitudes, right? Like the ones who gone through cancer, like they gone through like near death experience, like accidents, like whatever, like they become more grateful for some reason.
Because they're not taking things for granted. Anybody who has gone through hardships and have come out the other end cannot take life for granted anymore.
Yeah.
There was an exercise that somebody taught me, and I do this pretty much every new year. What would you do if this was the last year of your life on this earth?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you actually start to think like that, what will I do? You start to then really realize that maybe for some people, they're still super satisfied
Like I don't need to do anything.
in their career, but majority of the people are not. Like
Yeah.
I meet people on a daily basis in Bali, I hear, yeah, I was feeling, going through a burnout, or I was going on a healing journey. I came to Bali for 1 month and now I'm going to stay here because I can't go back to my own life. Like
Yeah.
so many people do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Bali has this magic of just like I every single time I go to Bali, I was there for like a month and a half, 2 months this year, and you just feel like you get so much from the place. Like it gives so much. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much you give out, you receive a lot more for some reason.
Yeah, I know. And I don't know why. But yeah, Bali is really, really special.
Yeah.
Bali is very special.
So what were the hardest, I would say, cultural expectations or like family expectations that you had to let go of choosing differently? You talk about your dad. I don't know whether you wanted to comment a bit on like your other family members or kind of like community, like reaction to your choices, because I'm pretty sure they saw you as this like prodigy, got her shit together at such a young age, like role model. They're like kind of like admiring their entire life. And then you then just went into an inward journey. I'm not sure if everybody understood at the time.
Yeah, to be honest, like I didn't even share much of it with my extended family. And my mom and my sister pretty much supported me. But then I was kind of, because I was in another country doing what I'm supposed to do. So it was a very much of an inward journey.
Yeah.
And of course, people still feel admired maybe at the end of it, like, oh, you have this beautiful retreat center. Or like,
It's like a
you're
good
doing, you're
result.
living your dream. So the people, of course, look at the result, right? But the
Yeah.
path is difficult
Yeah.
to get there, filled with risks, filled with bumps.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the expectations culturally or from your family that you had to let go of?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like pretty much everywhere, right? Having this perfect life of like a beautiful home and husband, and raising the kids really well, and doing your job. And so many people do a great job at it. I
Yeah.
still compare. It's like, why am I not like?
Well, like, but that's also the result, right? Like, you have no idea how much they've sacrificed in the process in their day-to-day life.
Exactly. So yeah, so I mean, I had to let go of all of that,
Yeah.
of that perfect life,
Yeah.
because my life is definitely not perfect.
Your life now from outsiding, it's like a different kind of perfect, right?
Exactly.
It is not like a, like a house in the suburb of like a mountain view, whatever, that kind of
Which I did.
perfection. Yeah. But I don't know, it's just perfect because like it is like you can tell it's somebody who chose themselves like completely. And it's an
Yeah.
expression of that.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel really good. Like if I were to, let's say, die today, I would die feeling fulfilled.
Mhm.
And that is important to me.
Yeah.
That I'm able to find a balance between work and kids and traveling and doing the things that I love to do. I mean, I still work really hard. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't, getting a business up and running in a place like Bali is not that like, but
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel good in what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, okay. So, two questions. The first one is like, let's just say if you were to ask the old Anshu in Silicon Valley, like if you were to die tomorrow, what do you think would be her reaction to life at the time?
Wow. I don't know. It depends on the time. Like When I was like young,
Yeah.
before the transformation started, I was still really happy, because I loved what I did. It wasn't like that I was not happy. I mean, I was really happy to be having new experiences, moving to a
Yeah.
new country. So it depends on but there were still, some difficult times because I was married first time and it was a very abusive relationship. So that was difficult. So it just depends on the stage of life,
Mm,
where I was
mm.
really miserable and where I was really, really thriving and feeling
Right.
filled with happiness. Yeah, I feel like my life has not been like a very straight line. It has had
Yeah.
a lot ups and downs in it.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I think what's funny is that what's interesting to me from outside in is like you were reversed bell curve, where you had a like a very full life before, and you had career, the family life, and like kids, etc. Very busy, very fulfilled. And then you then start to go through a transformation where you need to like build yourself from grown up. But now you're back to have that very fulfilled life
Yeah.
where you're busy and, like take care of kids as well, like all these things, right? So like, I just wonder like what changed because you told me that you were very stressed before, right? And then having that life, but now I mean, like the amount of activity, it's not like you slowed down. So like, do you still feel stressed? Like, what's the difference before and after?
I think right now, yes, of course, stress is part of our life. We can't really avoid it in this world, right? But what I would say I have is a lot of ways to manage my stress level. And I'm very
Yeah.
conscious of what's going on with me. I keep my state in a good state
Hmm.
every day to feel good. So I would
Yeah.
say that's the difference.
So I know that you also like specialize in stress management. I know that's like one of the reasons why you started the resort, that treatment center that you have right now. And I just wanted to know what like your philosophy around stress management and how did you see the transformation in yourself?
So, my philosophy about stress management is basically that we have to become conscious that we are stressed.
Yeah.
And some people do this like they will go like shopping or they would do binge drinking or they would eat a lot. And
Yeah.
these are all reactions to stress, but we don't even know it. Or they would watch a lot of like Netflix or, sit in front of TV. So once we understand that we are, in stress, we could be doing like some things in our daily life to manage stress. So it could mean like, meditation for 10 minutes, doing
Mm.
some yoga or some stretching, or like connecting with your breath, going for walks in nature, like these simple things that we all know about, but
Yeah.
they shift our state so much. Like I just went hiking in Switzerland for a few hours and it made me feel so good. The air was so fresh and or I was swimming when I go for a swim. Like all of these things they just kind of, create a feeling of aliveness in us.
Yeah.
And we all have it's different for all of us. So we have to figure out, what is it that's going to give you energy, not
Yeah.
take away your energy and fill you up with aliveness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the best thing. Managing stress.
Last thing, I always ask my guests is, can you please fill out the sentence? I am proud of myself because.
I'm proud of myself because I'm following my path. I'm proud of myself because I am I'm loving myself.
Yeah, yeah. That is very easy to say, but super hard to do. But anyway, thank you so much, Anshu.
If this conversation sparked something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are building a more true life, not just more impressive, we would love to hear your story. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Asian Rebel Club and join our newsletter for more ways to connect. Link in the description. Until next time.